Hey, what's up? So my video going over Dark Measures is taking longer than I expected, so I decided to make a quick Batman video. Now, I've made quite a few videos going over Batman, talking about dark episodes, popular episodes, and even the time that he met Scooby-Doo.
A dryad, a tree spirit. They live in the forests.
So the question is, what do I cover next? I wanted to find a bad episode to cover, but it's hard to pick one. I've Got Batman in My Basement is undoubtedly at the bottom of most people's lists, but the whole episode can be summed up in one sentence. Batman ODs in some kid's basement and the Penguin tries to get his Gucci belt, but some kids home alone their way through Penguin's goons. And you know what? That summary is probably more entertaining than the episode. Then you have bad episodes like Moon of the Wolf, where the episode is average as can be, but for some reason Batman got a full frontal lobotomy and just can't figure out that he's looking for a werewolf. But I think I've managed to find an episode that's perfect to cover because it's just downright retarded from the ground up, and that episode is The Mechanic. This episode is about the Penguin kidnapping Batman's mechanic, and it's kind of weird that the Penguin is in so many bad episodes. Let's just go ahead and get all this out of the way now. Why does Batman need a mechanic? Why isn't the mechanic living in the Batcave, or at least stationed in the Batcave? Why is a C-list villain like the Penguin able to trace back suspicious purchases to find out whose Batman mechanic is? If it's this easy to figure out who Batman's mechanic is, why hasn't anyone else uncovered Batman's secret identity? Why are the Penguin's henchmen patching up a wall they just blew up? How does Batman not get that Earl is telling him something important in this scene? Why does the Penguin pull up to an airport where him and Batman look like they're about to have a Fast and the Furious race? Why does this episode even exist? Crow's Ghost, The Midnight Coast, The Wonders of the World, Mysteries the Most. Water, fire, air, dirt, fucking magnets, how do they work? So yeah, there's a couple things wrong with this episode. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. We start this episode off with a mid-title card and a not-so-mid car chase between some of the Penguin's goons and Batman.
Maybe he's new in town.
The chase continues until they get to a bridge where the goons conveniently fall onto a boat I assume the Penguin owns by the logo on the smokestack, and Batman gets the front end of the Batmobile crushed by the bridge.
You piece of shit! Damn it!
This is when we get to meet the titular mechanic Earl. Batman and Robin make their way out on loaner bikes and Earl starts ordering the parts before we cut to the Penguin cave.
I wanted the rare ones, right? The reversed Autobahns. These aren't worth enough to pay for the repairs to the limousine.
It's kind of odd that an episode of a kids show is so focused on vehicular repairs and paperwork, but this is when the Penguin finds out who Batman's mechanic is by looking at the order sheets.
I think these parts were ordered for the Batmobile.
The Penguin just casually sending this guy to his death, then reading the paperwork while he screams, is a pretty funny scene.
All the orders come from the same repair shop, run by a certain Mr. Cooper.
Also, I guess now would be the best time to talk about any comparisons to the Nolan films Lucius Fox and Earl the Mechanic from the animated series. Batman uses Lucius not only as a mechanic, but also to supply him with all of his other gear and workshops, and they even have a subplot in The Dark Knight where an employee looks into paperwork and finds out that Bruce is Batman. But it's also established that Wayne Industries has some sort of military contract, so his gear is explained away as experimental military equipment, which makes enough sense. And as far as that pencil-pushing sucker goes, he only had a decent hunch, not a definitive trail of paperwork, and he ended up getting put in his place by Morgan Freeman.
You think that your client, one of the wealthiest, most powerful men in the world, is secretly a vigilante who spends his nights beating criminals to a pulp with his bare hands? And your plan is to blackmail this person?
Where here we have a guy that used to work at a car company before getting fired and a hit put on him for trying to whistleblow about a safety feature. Never heard that one before. And Batman ended up saving him from the hit, but nobody would hire a snitch, so he ended up going broke until Batman just so happened to pull up to him one night and ask him to fix his car. Also, side note, it is nice seeing the old Batmobile design, but it's completely ruined by the Justice League Batman design. Anyway, getting back to the episode, after the Penguin breaks in, he asks Earl to sabotage the Batmobile, and Earl then proceeds to tell us his origin story, which we just talked about, before spurging over the Batmobile parts list.
Titanium construction, ablative skin cowling, trinitro propulsion units.
It's kind of funny how the Penguin uses the Batmobile as a threat. Not like he's gonna run her over in it or drop it on her, but like he's gonna push her into the fender so the security system shocks her a little bit.
Now be sure to do exactly as I tell you, or the next person who gets a jolt out of your security device will be your charming daughter.
We also see the Penguin's goons patching up the hole they blew up in the wall, and I know it's probably so Batman won't notice anything when he comes to pick up the car, but I'd like to think the Penguin was tired of getting the bill after every heist, so he hired some guys who were really good at drywall so he'd be able to fix anything before leaving. Also, just imagine when they were getting out of the car and they had to go through the checklist. Big red sticks of dynamite? Check. Some wires to connect the dynamite to a clock? Check. 2 5-gallon Home Depot buckets? Check. Drywall knives? Check. Now, did you get the pre-mixed joint compound, or are we gonna have to mix it ourselves?
What the fuck is this? I didn't order anime whore.
Suitcase, duffel, bag, fanny, Sully's Emporium has it all. After a very busy day of 2 phone calls, Molly and Christine decide to go to lunch.
Are you hungry? Yeah, come on, let's get out of here and go get something to eat. Sounds good.
Tammy, you want a bite with some peppers on it?
No.
Ask her, maybe she wants a bite.
Still just reeds in the wind, like the stars of the Brabantine Howhu. They sound simply ephemeral, yet they are as dust in the hands of a man without legs. Such are the ancestral spirits that summon us all.
What? What the fuck are you talking about, Master?
Concentrate! Focus on my cod philosophical jibber-jabber!
Getting back to the episode, we see Batman calling in and the Penguin getting wet at the chops. The Penguin takes Earl's daughter as collateral. Oh yeah, Earl has a daughter, by the way. And we see Batman pulling up after smoking a fat doobie backstage with Willie Nelson.
Right.
Also, why is the shot of Earl so menacing? We then see Batman heading to the airport because this is GTA Online and he just got a new car and wants to see how fast it goes.
Hey bro, watch your jet. Watch your jet, bro. Watch your jet!
But before he gets there, he starts to think about what Earl said earlier.
What's bugging you?
He seemed upset. Something's just not right.
This is interrupted, however, when the Penguin's car pulls up and he farts on the Batmobile. I swear to God, I didn't add that sound effect. The Penguin literally pulls up, farts on Batman, and then tips his fedora like a true gentleman. This leads into a car chase, of course, but this time the Penguin has the upper hand in the form of a remote that controls the Batmobile. Either that, or Batman also had a Mickey's 40 ounce with that doobie earlier, and he's driving in the car with the kicker in the back, shoddy in the front, windows pitch black. The chase spills onto a runway, and Batman and the Penguin look at each other like Vin Diesel and Paul Walker before the Penguin sends Batman and Robin off to crash. Also, I guess Earl replaced the door handles with paper mache, and the Penguin is a whiz on the controller because instead of a brick wall, he sends the Batmobile to the top of a parking lot where Batman has a revelation.
The basement! Huh? Earl, he kept saying basement. It's a racing term. When drivers crash, they say they've gone down in the basement. He was trying to warn us.
Also, a couple of things here. One, why does the Penguin wait so long before sending the Batmobile off the edge? And two, is basement really a racing term? I mean, my only exposure to racing was playing Dirt to Daytona on the PS2 in that one episode of King of the Hill with ZZ Top, but still, I think this either sounds made up or from the 60s. The Penguin calls his henchman at Earl's shop to let him know that the job is done, and Earl utilizes all the power he's built up through gooning by coming all over the henchman before getting shot 5 times trying to put tires around him. Then he strings the henchman up on a lift so he could get a look at those toesy woesies.
You're going nowhere. I got you for 3 minutes. 3 minutes of playtime.
Catching back up with Batman, we see him pulling a move straight out of Just Cause when he grapples onto the car while gliding. This, however, causes the henchman to not pay attention to the road and crash into a semi, killing everyone inside the car. Just kidding, this is a kid's show, so instead, Earl's daughter gets held up by the Penguin with an umbrella. Okay, to be fair, this umbrella shoots bullets, but the scene is so much funnier when you don't know that fact. Batman then saves the day, and we catch up with Earl packing up his shop while Batman talks about dummy corporations and Earl Spurgs.
Tritium thrusters, dual accelerators, fuel-injected turbo boosters.
We end the episode with the Penguin in prison making tags for cars before getting one last f*** you from Batman.
One bat for you.
The episode ends right after that, so you don't really have time to think about it, but let's just think about it for a moment. After busting the Penguin and putting him in prison, Bruce spent countless hours filling out paperwork to get a custom tag he's never going to use, and either just knew the Penguin would see it, or did it several times hoping he'd see at least one of them, and I don't know which option I prefer. Now, this episode isn't the worst in the series. For me, bad episodes of Batman the Animated Series are the boring ones, and this episode is far from boring, but it still is incredibly stupid and deserves to be mocked and laughed at like the child that wets themselves during a performance. I'm about halfway done with my video going over Dark Measures, so unlike the Batman vs. Dracula video, this one will be coming out within this lifetime, but it's a real passion project, so I want to make sure I do it right. Hopefully it'll be the next video coming out, but if not, expect another Batman the Animated Series video, because Death Note videos take too long, and eventually I'm wanting to rank every episode of Batman the Animated Series, and the more videos I make going over it, the more I can skip talking about the episodes and just say, I've already made a video over this, so if you want to hear my opinions, you can click on the video up in the corner. It's over 100 episodes of a show people only remember about 25 episodes of, so I'm going to cut as many corners as I can. Anyway, it's been a nice break, but I need to get back to editing my Dark Measures video, so until next time, later.